I'm Teisha Bader with the JBS News Update for Tuesday, November the 10th, 2015. Two young Palestinians attacked a security guard in the Jerusalem neighborhood of Pisgat Ze'ev this afternoon. The two are said to be aged either 11 and 12 or 12 and 14 years old and are cousins from the Arab village of Shuafat. They stabbed the guard on the light rail in the neighborhood. He was moderately wounded but managed to fire his weapon at the attackers, hitting and wounding the 12-year-old. Passengers on board were able to hold the second attacker until police officers arrived at the scene. The injured security guard was taken to Shaarei Tzedek Medical Center after being treated at the scene. The wounded attacker was also treated by paramedics at the scene and evacuated to Hadassah Hospital in serious condition. Also, two terror attacks were prevented today, one in Jerusalem's Old City when a 37-year-old Palestinian tried to stab police officers near the Damascus Gate. The officers shot and injured the terrorist, who was taken to Hadassah Hospital in critical condition. He later died of his wounds. And in the West Bank, a 16-year-old Palestinian ran towards border police officers with a knife at a checkpoint near the Arab village of Abu Dis. He was shot by Israeli forces and later died of his injuries. U.S. President Barack Obama and Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu's meeting yesterday at the White House was deemed a positive one. In it, the two leaders agreed on a new 10-year U.S. military aid package for Israel. A U.S. delegation will begin talks on the package in Israel at the beginning of next month. The president and prime minister also addressed regional threats to Israel at the meeting, like ISIS and the situation in Syria, as well as threats of a nuclear Iran. Netanyahu called the face-to-face in Washington good and constructive, telling reporters, according to the Times of Israel, that the sit-down with the president was, quote, one of the best meetings I've had with him. And Jewish organizations welcomed the positive meeting. Executive Director of the American Jewish Committee, David Harris, said President Obama and Prime Minister Netanyahu demonstrated that U.S.-Israel ties continue to be robust and mutually supportive, and that the shared values and interests of our two full-throttled democracies outweigh any momentary differences. The Jewish Council for Public Affairs said at a time when security concerns in the Middle East are of paramount importance for both Israel and America, the need for collaboration and mutual support has never been more critical. And today, Netanyahu addressed this year's General Assembly of the Jewish Federations of North America in Washington.
No matter what disagreements there are between Israel and the United States, Israel has no better friend than America, and America has no better friend than Israel. No matter what disagreements there have been within the Jewish community, maintaining the unity of our people is of paramount importance. There is only one Jewish people, there is only one Jewish state, and now more than ever, we must work together to unite the Jewish people and secure the Jewish state.
JBS is at the GA and aired the Prime Minister's address live today. For encore presentations of that speech, you can check the website jbstv.org. A group of congressmen and women and U.S. senators have sent letters to the European Union urging them to reconsider publishing labeling guidelines on Israeli products made over the Green Lines, the pre-1967 lines. Republican Representatives Doug Lamborn of Colorado and Randy Weber of Texas spearheaded one letter signed by 36 lawmakers expressing their concern that the guidelines will undermine continued U.S. efforts to, quote, achieve a bilateral negotiated peace accord between Israel and the Palestinians, and that the guidelines would, quote, constitute the de facto boycotting of Israel, referring to the boycott, divestment, and sanctions movement. They wrote that such discrimination against Israel is, quote, not merely unfair, but also violates core principles of international trade law. U.S. Senators Republican Ted Cruz of Texas and Democrat Kirsten Gillibrand of New York led the second letter signed by 36 senators, writing to the EU that at a time of significant instability in the region, it is deeply concerning to us that the EU is considering a proposal intended to impose more diplomatic and economic pressure on Israel, and also citing that the proposed labeling guidelines play into the narrative of the boycott, divestment, and sanctions movement, which is an effort to delegitimize Israel rather than promote a resolution of outstanding issues between Israel and the Palestinians. And taking a look now at our programming for tonight on JBS for Tuesday, November the 10th. At 8 o'clock, Eric Mandel, who is founder and director of the Middle East Political and Information Network, talks about the sectarian Sunni-Shia divide within Islam that is at the heart of the current chaos gripping the Middle East. That's a program of Stand With Us of New York City. At 9 o'clock, Mark Golub sits down with Qasim Hafiz, a Muslim who went from Israel hating to pro-Israel activism. That's on L'chaim. And at 10, Yehuda Kurtzer of the Shalom Hartman Institute of North America talks about reviving the peace process with Hillel Ben-Sasson of Hebrew University and the New Israel Fund's Libby Lenkinski, as well as with former Knesset member Don Meridor from the JCC of Manhattan. And that's the JBS News Update for Tuesday, November the 10th, 2015. I'm Teisha Bader.